Hello Matthias, welcome to this week's training video, Transcending with DLC. Today I want to talk to you about steps to being a happier you. Okay, if you ask anyone in the street a question about what would you like out of life more than anything, I bet you 99 out of 100 people would say they just want to be happy. I'm going to give you an example of my own experience in this video and also steps that I've taken in the 5 years that I've been transitioning now to hopefully help you on your path to happiness. Have you ever heard the metaphor that the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it? I'm going to say it again, the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it. It's the same with your happiness. If you want to be truly happy, you can't expect to be given it, you have to generate it for yourself. Using my own experience as an example, I moved to a new town, started a new career, didn't know anybody, and I also changed my gender, or the way that I expressed my true identity. I started living my truth, and when I look back, I think I was absolutely crazy to do that, but on the flip side, I'm also really, really glad that I did that, because it enabled me to immerse myself fully into something that was completely new. They say if you want to take the island, you burn all the boats. I think I totally did that with my experience, but I think in doing so it gave me greater strength. It might be more difficult initially, but the strengths and the experiences that I've had as a result of doing that so extremely and so quickly have, I think, stood me in good stead, and has helped me support others and coach them through the difficulties that they're having. Okay, if you want to attract happiness, the law of attraction dictates that what you give out, you attract back to you. You have to be happy in yourself. So the very first one is about being open. When I say be open in your happiness, what I really struggled with when I first came down here was I didn't really have any friends or people who I could, socialise with. I think what I did is I made the mistake of trying to push myself onto my colleagues and associates at work on their friendship groups, and ultimately, they had their own friends, they had their own lives. I mean, we did go out occasionally with work, but it wasn't until I put myself in a situation where I was around new people that I started to build those friendships and relationships. I went to a quiz night at a local cafe down here in Bournemouth, and in doing so, I got introduced to loads of new people, and then I started making friendships, and none of it was forced, because it was coming from a place of me. Here is me, this is who I am, I'm new to the area, and because of that, I was more happier, and I was less forced, so therefore it just flowed better. And I think, some of those people I'm still friends with now, and that's 5 years later, so you do the math. Step number 2 is to be happy. Remember what I said about the power plant and how it doesn't have energy, it generates energy. The same is for you, my dears. If you want to have happiness, you have to try and be happy. Now, I know it's difficult when you're struggling with a journey, with a change, with any kind of transition, and me pointing this out isn't to try and bring you down, it's to try and build you up. Remember the reasons that you made these change, remember the reason that you want to do these things. So I think we'll become so consumed by our journey, by our transition, by the goals that we have, that we forget to be happy in the thing that we're becoming, and in being happy in the thing that you're becoming, in being happy in the progress that you're making. Slow progress is still progress, and I think a lot of people lose sight of that. Slow progress is still progress. Remember, you generate your own happiness, so be happy in the things that you're doing and you're achieving, and then when you do that, you'll achieve more of the same, and then you'll become more confident, and you'll become more competent, and ultimately you'll become happier. Step number 3 is put yourself out there. It's really difficult, and to go back to my own example, when I went to that quiz night, I was really scared, knew no one, but rather than just sit in the corner and be a wallflower and do, hi, this is me, I'm Debbie, I'm new to the area, I just put myself out there. I was vivacious, I was bubbly, and you attract that energy back to you. You must have heard of this saying that you are a reflection of the people become a reflection of you. Absolutely true. I couldn't agree with that more. Someone sitting quiet in the corner, they're timid and nervous, then, people are going to come up to you and perhaps say hi, but, and giving out that energy, you're not going to attract people who could perhaps make you happier as well, and being what you want to become. Then, ultimately you attract those people into your life that enable you to empower you to get on that journey. Step number 4 is life is part of sadness too. Remember that. If you set yourself up to be happy the whole time, you will fail. I promise you, there are times when I'm really miserable, when I am not coping, when I struggle with my transition still, 5 years in, and there are times when I still feel gender dysphoric. There are times when I hate my body, but on the whole, my experience is a happy one. But I am realistic enough to expect and understand that life is part sadness too. And when we're sad, it gives us a measure of what happiness is. So please understand that because you're going through a sad or difficult time, one, it's not permanent, and two, it's going to give you a measure of what you actually want to achieve. And you then understand what you need to do in order to be happy. So please don't see it as failing. Failing is part of life, but sadness is also part of happiness. If you weren't sad, you'd never know what happiness was. So please understand that. And the final step number 5, see the good in everything. See the happy in everything. And it's really, really difficult to say that, but look at it this way, okay? There have been many times in the past 5 years when I've been passed for friendships. I've had family reject me. I've had relationships end for varying reasons. I've been stood up a few times, through Plenty of Fish, the dating website. I've tried to arrange dates through there, being very honest about the fact that I was trans. The people who I were going to meet, the women who I were going to meet, were very happy in that, but they still stood me up, and whilst at the time it really sucked, while I hated it, and I was just like, I wanted to say screw it all and just not put myself out there and looking for love, I still did it, and rather than just focusing on love, I actually focused on being happy. And in being happy, I was more attractive anyway, and then I attracted someone into my life when I least suspected it. And love is going to be in the topic for me, I think, quite soon, because a lot of transgender people struggle when they think about someone's going to love them for who and what they are. If it happened for me, it can happen for you. But honestly, I don't know if I necessarily believe in fate, but I honestly believe when something happens that I don't want to happen, it's for a reason. And invariably what I found has happened throughout my whole life, and especially in the last 5 years, when something happens that I hate, it's because something better is around the corner. And the thing I wanted actually wasn't really the thing that I wanted, because something better was about to happen. So please take heart in that. Please understand that because something has happened and it's not on your journey for happiness or self-fulfillment, whatever you want to say, it's not the be-all and end-all. I promise you that something will happen for you that will be better than what you think that you wanted and didn't achieve. So I want to thank everyone for watching, sharing and liking this videos. I hope this has helped you. I hope you can be more open, to put yourself out there. I think you can be happy. Remember that the law of attraction dictates the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it. You don't have happiness, you generate it. I hope that you start putting yourself out there more. In doing so, you're going to put yourself in new situations where you have the opportunities to be happy, to build friendships and relationships. Step number 4, I really hope that you remember that life is part sadness, happiness is part sadness. Without the yin, you don't have the yang. Without the light, you don't have the dark. It's the same with happiness and sadness. Understand that the two are similar with each other, and if you're going through sad times, it's part of life. It gives you a measure of what happiness is. Don't camp and stay there. You can be sad for a bit, but remember that life is happy too. And then I hope that you see the good and happiness and everything, because in seeing the happiness and everything, or seeing the good opportunities and everything, I hope that you will be empowered to keep believing in yourself, keep being yourself, be yourself, no one else. Thanks you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next week. Until then, bye.